All right, we're back. Another episode of TEW Impact. This time we are starting off the month of November 2022, week one. We are still a few weeks away from Turning Point, which I believe is our next pay per view. So yeah, we just might as well just get into the news. We got probably some big, well, I don't know, maybe not some big news, but some developments. Also, it's the end of the month, beginning of a new month, so yeah, let's see what we got. So for our numbers for BTI, zero point oh 0.01 as always. Overall rating was a 37, down from a 38. Um, so 38 was our highest. We're only down 1 point. Impact rate TV rating was a 0.35, up from a 0.33. Once again, we are tied with our highest rating. I believe it's like our third or fourth time reaching a 0.35. We've not been able to crack that yet. Overall rating 47, up from a 41. I want to no, I don't want to I don't want to remember what my overall high overall ratings were because um I was going to say 48, but I am probably going to be really wrong on that. So I'm not going to talk about it, but still a good number. And then our attendance 325, up from 310 last week. So overall doing well, kind of staying steady. Our end of the month news, our total profit for October was $38,961, which on paper sounds, well, doesn't sound bad because we're still making money. We haven't lost money yet. It's our lowest monthly profit so far that since I've started this game, but that's only because we invested money into expanding Impact Plus into the Oceania regions a couple weeks back. So if we hadn't done that, if we just not done that, we the profit would probably be close to, if not like a little bit over, last month's profit, which was our highest we had gotten up to that point. So we are at least, using our money somewhat wisely, um, and still making money on top of that. So not bad. Uh, Unfortunately, can't say the same about our regional battles. We still finished fourth out of five, another 5% attendance cut this month. Um, NXT is at 66, NWA is at 57, MLW is at a 55, Impact Us is at 48, and Shine is at a 45, which I was kind of surprised, um, considering they had just bumped themselves up and they had gotten a TV deal as small as their TV deal may be. Um, yeah, I'm just kind of thinking here, but yeah, I just there's a part of me that wants to move out of the Southeast region. Um, that's something I might think of like when we get to the end of the year, because this really is like our main hurdle. I think if we had moved to a region where we hadn't had so much competition, we would probably be we might possibly be big, or at least close to big status, and had gotten out of medium, because actually, at least for the American regions, all of our regions have gone up except for the Southeast region. The one that we're in has gone down over time. So, and when we started the game, I think we were only a few points away. It was like if you got a certain amount of, uh, I want to say it was like maybe 55 or something like that, or maybe it was much higher than that. I can't remember. But um, regardless, yeah, like we are going down over time in the southeast region, but we're going up everywhere else. So, like I said, I think if we moved to a different region where we didn't have to put up with so much competition, we could get up too big, but I don't know how to do that. So that's something I'll probably look into doing. Uh, which would kind of suck because we've already had people relocate due to us, being in the southeast region. So that would suck for them. But I don't know. Something to think about. Impact news. So our big news this month is that we started the Impact Plus Worldwide Alliance. Our first member being Pro Wrestling Australia. I'm not familiar with them in real life, and in the game, they are I think there's like 43 companies, and they're like 40th, so they're really small. I think they're either owned or booked, if not both, by Madison Eagles. But they have a number of talent, and I will talk about that later on in the show because there is a reason why we had to start this alliance. I would like to grow it over time, but this was more of a means to an end of something that we'll get to later on in the show. Um, Tasha Steeles, we extended a handshake deal renewal and she accepted. Lady Frost has given birth to a baby boy. Um, no, I guess, real timeline on when she plans to be back, and I am not in a hurry to bring her back, so good for her. Rhino developed a friendship with Shannon Moore over social media, and I did look, and Shannon Moore is located in the southeast region, so maybe we could use him if we really wanted to, but I don't really care one way or the other. And then Joe Hendry relocated to the northwest region of the U.S., which was really stupid of him because he's only working Impact and ICW, and he was already in the UK. So he moved to the US, but not only, but he moved to like the furthest region away. Instead of the southeast, he moved to the northwest, but he's not working anywhere else, at least not yet. Maybe he plans to, I don't know. But moving that far away from his home and also the one other place that's using him, I don't know why. Uh, logistically, that would have been a good idea, but he did it, so good for him. WWE news seem to either be contract extensions or injuries. So, Andrade El Idolo suffered a partial RCL tear on SmackDown, which, if you remember, Andrade like just went back to the WWE a few months ago. Uh, Out for over a month, so not a horrible injury. Morgan Webster, half of the NXT UK Tag Team Champs, suffered a dislocated knee at Takeover 13. NXT Takeover 13 or NXT UK Takeover 13 rather. Out for a few weeks. Again, not a that bad of an injury, but then developmental talent Mohammed Fahim suffered a broken orbital bone in an NXT Dark match, and he'll be out for almost 6 months. So that one kind of sucks, but um, considering I don't actually know who he is yet, um, and he's basically only been working dark matches, um, probably no big loss for WWE. Uh, Excuse me. And then for contract news, Grayson Waller extended his developmental deal with NXT UK. Shaw Samuels extended his developmental deal with NXT UK. And Undertaker and referee Jessica Carr have extended their exclusive written deals. So more people staying with WWE. American news for AEW, Darius Martin signed an exclusive written deal. Again, I think after last week where WWE snatched away John Silver, one of their tag team champions, and then answering back with just getting Darius Martin on an exclusive deal, maybe they should, no disrespect to Darius Martin, but maybe aim a little higher on your people who you're signing exclusive deals to. Speaking of, Miro, who is on writ deal with AEW but not exclusive, agrees to a handshake deal with AIW, and then he starts teaming with the Absolute Champion Sheamus on the Go for Broke tapings. I think they taped like 3 or 4 episodes this past week. Shimmer, much like the Tokyo Joshi promotions, trending or hiring a badass as a road agent. They hired the recently retired Tonga Fafita, aka Haku and Meng, to a handshake deal as a road agent. So that is kind of funny to me. And then Shine, they I don't know if they outkicked their coverage, so to speak, but my network TV already dropped their TV show after only 3 episodes. So they bumped themselves up, I think, to medium status, and then invested a whole bunch of money in production. Well, I don't know how much money they invested, but they did like up all of their categories across the board, and then uh, only 3 episodes, and their TV show gets dropped. So kind of unfortunate for them, but I guess fortunate for us considering they're in last place and we're not. So we'll take it. um, International news. All Japan has risen to medium size. Um, they were in number one in the Kanto regional battle for small size companies. Um, so I put the rankings in order because it's pretty much like a ton of Japanese companies. All Japan, then Noah, then Big Japan, Stardom, Ice Ribbon, DDT, Zero One, and then Tokyo Joshi Pro in that order. Now that they are medium size, I assume that's going to bump them up in a medium regional battle with New Japan. New Japan is at medium, and they're also in the Kanto region. So I assume at least if all Japan can stay at medium status, that'll bump them into a new battle with all or New Japan. But we've also seen at least with AEW where they change, they drop but then go up within a matter of weeks. And I'm sure the opposite will could happen. But yeah, all Japan doing better. Noah, some pretty bad injury news. Taoki suffered a herniated disc at the Premium Prelude show, out for over a year. So that really sucks for them. CMLL Volador Jr. has left, likely because he had a written deal with New Japan, not an exclusive, but I think that was the only other place he was working, and he relocated to Kanto earlier this year. So Volador likely focusing on Japan rather than Mexico. And then for Revolution Pro, Will Ospreay has left, likely more due to signing an exclusive written deal with New Japan than previous issues with the owner. If you may keep you track, about a few weeks ago, I guess Osprey said some things about the Booker and got him mad, and it was wonder if he would leave. He has, but I think that was just due to the New Japan exclusive deal going into effect. The British heavyweight title is now vacant, but I looked and I don't think he was even defending it, so probably not a big deal. Um, there are plenty of titles out there that are vacant and or just have not been defended at all in game for whatever reason. Retirement's a really light week. No major announcements announced. Um, Probably some foreign names that I didn't recognize here and there, but not a big week. Officially going into effect is Dave Taylor and Carlos Colon Sr. And then before the Impact, um, we start off with another uh, angle with Brian Myers in the Learning Tree, uh, much like one of a couple weeks back where Brian Myers is dressing down VSK and Avery Good about their losing streak as of late. Myers claiming that they're either not listening to his training or the training is not taking with them, to the point where they lost to Dalton Castle's boys last week on Before the Impact. So Myers is, pretty embarrassed about that. And he once again claims that he's probably going to bring in a coach of some sort to get them in shape. We shall see who that might be. And then W. Morrissey defeating Falaba of the Enlightened. I think I just had like Crazy Steve at ringside, not necessarily interfering, but Crazy Steve wanting W. Morrissey in his crew as of late, and Morrissey not wanting to do the group thing. He just got out of the whole Maria Kanellis group and wants to go it alone, and now is being wants to. Crazy Steve wants to recruit him, and Morrissey's not having it. So he's beaten Falaba. Crazy Steve likely not pleased at that. We get an angle backstage with bunch of the luchadors. I don't know how many of these people speak English or Spanish, but we'll assume that our audience is not dumb and that they can read subtitles. So basically, they're all in a locker room. Mascara Dorada, who was recently announced as the coach for Team Mexico in the World X Cup, basically talks about how he has chosen Laredo Kid. Like Mascara Dorada will be captain. Laredo Kid will be his lieutenant as of sorts. Um, but the fact that there are only two spots left for a tag team, and that there are three left in the form of Astrolux, Gotita de Plata, and Commander. So what he is going to do is next week on Before the Impact, it will be those three in a three-way, and whoever loses the pinfall is off the team of Team Mexico. Basically, well, not necessarily off the team, but um, will just be on standby. So whoever wins and whoever does not get pinned will be the tag team that rounds out Team Mexico, and whoever suffers the pinfall will basically be an understudy, if you will, a standby in case maybe someone gets injured or whatever. Um, so yeah, that'll happen next week on Before the Impact. And then we get, in somewhat of an upset, Sam Beal defeating Rich Swann. We have Trey Miguel accompanying Sam Beal, and we have Susan managing Rich Swann. Susan ultimately interfering and it not going so well. Sam Beal able to capitalize and get the upset win. But not only were those people at ringside, but also uh, Swerve, the X Division champion, and Willie Mack. So one half of Team USA for the World X Cup was watching and possibly scouting for future talent. So we'll see who they pick in the coming weeks. We have, much like with Team Mexico, they're filling out their team, and they have by the pay per view to get their team finalized. So we'll find out if they pick anybody anytime soon. And then we end the show with a backstage brawl between Zhao and Max the Impaler. Zhao laying down the challenge. I believe, did I do that last week? Looking at my notes here. No, something that's going to come later. But basically, a follow up of last week where Zhao attacks post match attacks Max, the Impaler, after a match last week, and then just them two getting into a brawl backstage. Overall rating of 39, which I think beats our record. I think we were at 38. So increasingly doing better with our Before the Impact. I think a lot of that is due to Rich Swan. While I find something for him to do, uh, him trying out this whole him and Susan relationship and his losing streak of his, but he's turning in good matches. So, um, kind of keeping Before the Impact afloat, with some good, solid ratings, or at least some higher ratings than we would have gotten. Of course, we can't get beyond a point oh 0.01 on our TV rating. So, yeah, that's Before the Impact, and we will go into Impact proper. All right, so we start off Impact tonight with the first match in the so-called gauntlet, if you will, of Colby Carino and his crusade against Homicide. Homicide versus Hikuleo. Homicide getting the win after 9:38. Excuse me. Oh, excuse me. Yeah. Playing up the size difference, if you will, with the big Hikuleo. Homicide can't get the Gringo Killer on him, but eventually does wear him down. Probably gets a like leaping ace crusher off the second rope to Hikuleo to lay him out for the 3 count. Segment rating of 34. So a pretty average match from what we're doing, I guess. Homicide with a 33, Hikuleo with 32, resulting in a 34. So no huge um, ratings here, but Homicide starting off the gauntlet, if you will, on the right foot, but that does not last long because after the match, pretty much right after the match, Colby Carino and Anthony Henry, the remaining members of the Crusade, jump into the ring and just immediately start beating down Homicide. It's 2-on-1. Homicide cannot defend himself. Hernandez is out. No Hernandez to back him up. So Colby definitely using this to his advantage. And it's likely that it's going to be Homicide versus Anthony Henry next week. So we'll see how that works out. If Homicide is able to recoup in time, segment rating of 24, losing Heat to the storyline. And then we go backstage where we see Buddy Matthews, the team captain of Team Australia, cutting a promo talking about how, reiterating that there's never been a Team Australia in Impact before in the history of the Impact World X Cup. So he wanted to go out and he went and got the best tag team that Australia has to offer, that being Aussie Open, Kyle Fletcher and Mark Davis. So they're uh, now in Impact, and this is this is why we had the this is basically why we had the alliance to begin with, because I believe it was Kyle Fletcher was not, he was only available to work the Oceania regions. He wasn't available to work America, unless we were either a bigger size or via an alliance loan. So that is why we had to basically Kyle Fletcher is the reason we started an alliance so we could bring Aussie Open over um for the World X Cup. Funny note, that's also a reason why we can't bring RJ City over of all people. RJ City is someone I've been wanting to bring in, but for some reason in this data he's only available to work in Canada, and he's got like the same restrictions where he can only be brought in via an alliance loan or if we were bigger, but he's not working anywhere. So until he like until he work and signs with a company or starts working for a company, and then we form an alliance with that company, we couldn't bring RJ City in if we wanted to. So that kind of sucks. I don't know why. And like, with Kyle Fletcher, I don't know why he wasn't cleared to work America. But segment rating of 26, they have like no popularity in the States. So at this point in time. So of course this segment was going to be low. Kyle's gimmick got an initial rating of poor. Small boost during angles will be penalized for comedy bouts. That's fine. So yeah, 3 out of the 4 names of Team Australia have been decided upon. And then we get an interview with Gia Miller interviewing Swerve, the X Division champion, and Team America captain, and also Willie Mack, also on Team America. Again, I think this was mostly just to fill out time and get Swerve on this show. Didn't have plans for them this week, but basically, they had talked about how they appeared on Before the Impact during the Sam Beal versus Rich Swann match, and they admit they've been scouting people. And they only have half the team decided upon, and they have a couple weeks left to figure it out. So that's basically what the promo is all about. Segment rating of 35 for that. We get the Inspiration versus the Nasty Women Assassins of Janai Kai and Savannah Stevens. Basically going to a draw once the likes of Tennille Dashwood and Viper interfere. Um, much like I think last week, where it was either last week or the week before, where it was the Inspiration and yeah, I think it was the week before. It was Tennille and Viper versus the Inspiration. Janai Kai and Savannah Evans broke the matchup. We basically get more of the same here. No winner in this match. Segment rating of 29. So we have the Inspiration in the 30s, and then the Nasty Women Assassins in the low 20s. Savannah Evans getting better at her gimmick. But while this is going on, the match basically devolves into a 2-on-2-on-2 fight. Uh, while this is going on, the Knockouts tag team champions of the BFFs basically just come out to the stage and talk amongst themselves, and basically are pointing and laughing and having fun at what's going on. They, you know, are basically laughing at the fact that no real team has of those 3 teams that are fighting um, have no real wins against each other. So in their book, that means that they would likely uh, not have to defend the tag team titles anytime soon against any one of them. So they are quite pleased at being at the top of the so-called mountain, if you will. But just basically them laughing and having a good time at the expense of everyone else, as usual. Segment rating of 37 for that. We go backstage where we see Willow Nightingale just kind of prepping and getting ready when she kind of feels someone behind her watching her. A box falls over, kind of startles her. She kind of looks around, tries to see what's going on. So someone is looking after Willow Nightingale, but um, important to note that Willow had lost that match to Viper last week, thanks to Tennille Dashwood. Uh, so you would think it would probably be one of them who's doing this, but they're out in the ring, attacking the Inspiration and Janai Kai and Savannah Evans. So none of the real suspects of who this could be are available. They're out in the ring and they're brawling. So who could this be? This could be someone completely new. Who knows? But someone is trying to creep out Willow Nightingale. Um, I guess we'll find out in due time. Segment rating of 21 for that. We go elsewhere backstage where we see D'Lo Brown and Dalton Castle, and they're talking, and Dalton Castle flanked by his boys as usual, and D'Lo Brown congratulates Dalton Castle on winning his so-called golden opportunity match for last week, defeating Juice Robinson and Jonathan Gresham to earn some kind of title opportunity. And D'Lo Brown would like to hear Dalton Castle's thoughts about, what title he'd like to go for. Basically, he won the match, that kind of, you know, as the winner of that match, kind of, he's basically like, give me an idea, give me what you're thinking of, what title you could go for. And Dalton's like, well, can't exactly go for the world title, at least right now. You know, there's a we got Christian and Mike Bailey at the pay per view. And then, of course, Josh Alexander wants his title match, and Eddie Edwards wants a title match. And I don't know if I want to get in between those two guys. And so, maybe what about the X division? But, we got the X Cup going on right now. Swerve's kind of busy with that. What about the tag team? You know, maybe, but, I would rather have my boys, you know, win tag team gold. And he's talking about, what about the digital media championship and stuff's going on there. And he's like, I looked at all the titles and I don't know what one to go after. So, but then it hit me. Like, I was thinking about me and my boys, and I was thinking, why don't we do something new? New for Impact. And what about something that's never been done before? At least not here in Impact. Something brand new we could bring to Impact. And D'Lo's just kind of like thinking, like, oh, that sounds pretty good actually. What do you have in mind? And Dalton's like, oh no, I'll let me tell you about it, and then, you know, let me show you to my office, which is actually D'Lo Brown's office. So Dalton Castle, show like the conversation continues off screen, and the boy, they go into an office, and the boys flank the door to make sure no one else gets to hear what Dalton Castle has planned. But we'll see what kind of title opportunity this may be for Dalton Castle. If he can convince D'Lo Brown of it, it sounds like D'Lo Brown is pretty open minded to it. So segment rating of 37 for that. We go elsewhere backstage. A lot of backstage segments here. So we see Joe Hendry and Nick Stapp talking amongst themselves. They're talking about how they lost their match last week against the Maria Kanellis crew, and they're talking about, like, I don't know if we're getting through to them. We're telling them to believe. We're telling them to give a crap. We're telling them, trying to inspire them. Maybe they're getting inspired, but maybe not the way we wanted. But I look at them, I'm like, I look at them, I look at us, and I'm like, I know one of us, either one of us, we could beat the likes of Steve Macklin. Either one of us, we could beat the likes of Matthew Waywalt. But that Black Taurus, man, that guy scares me. I don't know how we can beat him. I don't know how we can get past him. As long as Maria Canelisi, the crew, has a Black Taurus on their team, I don't know how we could beat that. It's almost like we need our own Black Taurus. And it's like, well, almost, then Henry just keeps talking. And Henry's like, it's like, almost we need like our own guy who's dark, tall, and handsome, and maybe wears a pig mask. And eventually Nick Stapp like pops up. He's like, "Oh my god, I know a guy." Henry's like, "You know a guy? Wait, wait, tell me you know like a big pig man that will watch our back." And Nick Stapp's like, "Yeah, I do." And he pulls out his phone. He goes through and he's going through his pictures, and he shows Henry. He's like, "Look at." And Henry's kind of like sizing him up. He's like, "I don't know. You think you could bring him in?" Nick Stapp's like, "I know I could bring him in. I think we got a Black Taurus to help us watch our back." So, they're excited. They might be bringing a Black Taurus to watch their back, if you will. We'll see what happens with that. Segment rating of 29. We get Nick Aldis versus Michael Bennett, a match made after last week where Michael Bennett's so-called return was interrupted by Nick Aldis, who immediately insulted him for, so-called riding his wife's coattails, but yet never winning a world title, unlike him, where he's won multiple world titles and never had to rely on his wife to do so. So a match was made this week, and Michael Bennett ends up winning after 12 minutes with some Maria Kanellis interference. So Michael Bennett once again cannot, get by on his own. He needs his wife to do so, and that's proof right here where Michael Bennett uh, is able to beat Nick Aldis with the help from his wife. So segment rating of 42, decent match. I kind of figured it would be. Michael Bennett seems to pull in decent numbers, solid numbers, and I figured Nick Aldis would as well. So this storyline, gaining heat, will probably be delightfully average, if you will. So we'll see what goes on after that. We get a hype video for tonight's main event: Josh Alexander versus Eddie Edwards, with the winner possibly getting a future world title shot. Again, another. I didn't plan on this because, well, this was just another time filler. Normally, hype video angles do not do that well, so I don't really do them. But this one did all right. Segment rating of 33, and I figured, considering these are two of our top guys, that it would do okay. At last, or at least it's advancing our segments without losing heat. Didn't gain heat, but that's okay. And I figured, um, doing one with our top two guys wouldn't hurt. So here we go, hyping up our main event match tonight, and a segment rating of 33 for that. We go backstage where we see Chucky T, of all people, just kind of loitering backstage, bumming a cigarette, or maybe smoking a cigarette if you can do that on TV anymore, and just trying to uh, be cool. Maybe he's playing with like a switchblade comb or something. But generally being a backstage loiterer when suddenly Danhausen and Mance Warner jump in, get in his face. Maybe it's more so Danhausen than Mance Warner. Mance pretty much said what he had to say last week, but Danhausen wasn't there, so Danhausen's like, we know you took my briefcase. Where is it? Mance tells me, you know, you took the briefcase, so where is it? And Chucky's like, I don't know. I don't know why you guys are constantly in my face. I told you guys last week I don't have it. Mance told me, blamed me last week, and I told him, like, how can I be stealing your briefcase when I was out costing him his match? So someone else must have done it. I don't know who, and honestly, I don't care. I just want you guys to get out of my face. And Dan was like, no, we won't get out of your face. Tell us who stole the title or stole my briefcase. And Chucky's like, okay, fine. If I tell you something, at least will you get out of my face? And eventually he's like, uh, who would probably be the prime suspects in stealing an X Division title shot? I don't know. What about Chris Bay and Will Hobbs, two guys who have been in your, been all up in your grill or whatever a couple weeks ago. Chris Bay has been wanting X Division title shots, and Will Hobbs got X Division title shots. They all lost. Who gains to benefit the most from getting an X Division title shot? Who would, steal a ready-made X Division title shot that they don't have to earn? And Mance is just kind of like, not buying into it. Danhausen's more confused than anything. He's like, who are these people? I don't know who you're talking about. And Chucky's like, Chris Bay, you know, Chris Bay, Will Hobbs, little dude, big dude, beat you guys up a couple weeks ago. And Dan's like, nothing. I don't know. Chucky's like, Calvin and Hobbs. And Danhausen's like, oh, yes, Calvin and Hobbs. Calvin and Hobbs stole our briefcase. We must go get it. And he yanks Mance Warner back, and Mance Warner shoots Chucky a look. It's like, kind of like to say, like, I know you did it. You're just, stringing Danhausen along. You're stringing me along. I know you did it. doesn't say that, but basically his look does. Danhausen doesn't care. He just hears that Calvin and Hobbes stole his briefcase, so he's gonna go get it, and he needs Mance Warner's help to do so. So segment rating of 41 for that. Chucky T having to deal with nerds, continuing week after week. We go backstage, yet elsewhere backstage. Like I said, we have quite a bit of time. Well, we have still a few weeks yet for a pay per view, so we got to build this pay per view up. Petey Williams, the team captain of Team Canada in the World X Cup, is walking around and he bumps into Speedball Mike Bailey. He's like, "Okay, you're the man I just wanted to see." I was, we got. I know I set up this World X Cup thing. I know I had big plans, but I I, I guess I kind of got a little bit anxious, or I don't know the word for it, like presumptuous about it. But I looked over the Impact roster. There's not a whole lot of Canadian talent here. We got one guy who thinks he runs a cult. We got Josh Alexander, who may be just as crazy, and he's, you know, focused on the world title. But it's like, really, all we got here as far as Canadian talent is you, Speedball. So what do you say? What about joining Team Canada for the World X Cup? And they was like, under normal circumstances, this would be an honor. But I know you know this. I have a world title shot against Christian at that turning point at the pay per view. It's the biggest match of my career. It's for the world title against a Hall of Famer, against a legend in this business. I don't need any distractions. And PD's like, well, don't worry about it. You can do that. The World X Cup takes place after your title shot, and who knows? It'd be a hell of a get to have a new world title or new world champion on my team. And Bailey's like, I know it takes place, but afterwards, but I just can't have any distractions right now. I just gotta focus on Christian. That's the only way I'm gonna beat him and become world champion. And I'm sorry, I can't do it. Like I said, if this was under normal circumstances, I would be down, but I can't do it right now. I'm sorry. And PD and Bailey turns around, walks off, and PD's like trying to chase after him, bumps into Eric Young and Damian O'Connor, and we get this little back and forth where PD's like, "Eric, how you doing?" And Eric's like, "PD, how you doing?" And they're like, "Pretty good." And Eric's like, "Well, I heard you're looking for Team Canada talent." And PD's like, I don't know what to tell you, but Damien's not Canadian. I can't take him for my team." And he's like, that's like the old, like PD's trying to avoid the obvious of Eric Young being a former teammate and maybe wanting on Team Canada, but he's like, I can't take Damien. He's not Canadian. And then he's like, well, I can't worry about that. I got to get Mike Bailey on my team. He's the ringer. He's the top star. He's going to be like our, Team Canada's big get. I got to convince him. And he runs off. So, uh, Petey Williams wanting to get Mike Bailey on a Team Canada, but Bailey's got to stay focused on the world title match. So who knows where that will lead? Segment rating of 33 for that. We go to an office backstage where we see Gail Kim sitting at a table, and on one side is Bianca Blair and the Knockouts champion Rosemary. They're seated at one side of the table and they're just kind of talking, and the other side of the table is empty and they're just kind of talking, trying to fill up time until the door opens and Mercedes Martinez and Tosh Steeles walk in. And Gail Kim's like, well, you guys are late, but you guys are here. I called you here for a reason. I just wanted to straighten out the situation with the Knockouts Championship match at Turning Point, and we had Bianca Belair and Jordan Grace in a match where not only Mercedes Martinez and Tasha Steelz, you guys interfered to make sure no one won the match, but Jordan Grace is out with an injury for at least a month or so. For that alone, I could just give Bianca Belair the match, shut you guys out, and it could just be knockout or Rosemary defending against Bianca Belair at Turning Point. But I don't think that's completely fair. Bianca technically did not win the match to earn a title shot. But what I'm willing to do, despite your actions, despite you putting Jordan Grace on the injury list, um, I ask you, Mercedes, do you honestly believe that it is Tasha Steelz' time for her to step up and become Knockouts World Champion? And Mercedes, like, damn right I do. Uh, all that kind of pepping her up. And Gail Kim's like, fine. What I'm deciding next week on Impact, it's going to be a tag match. Rosemary, Bianca Belair versus Mercedes Martinez and Tasha Steelz. If Rosemary and Bianca beat you, the match at Turning Point will be Rosemary versus Bianca Belair for the Knockouts title. If Mercedes and Tasha Steelz win that tag match, then that match will become a three-way. It'll be Rosemary defending against Bianca Belair and Tasha Steelz. Tasha Steelz finally getting a shot at the Knockouts world title or the Knockouts title, and Mercedes is basically like, "That's all we need." They're both like, "That's all we need. That's all we're gonna get." Well, we'll take it, and we'll take the match. We'll win the match. We'll make sure we get that shot at Turning Point. Uh, so yeah, we'll find out next week after the tag match what our knockouts title situation is going to be at Turning Point. Segment rating of 42, gaining heat with the segment, so pretty good overall. Uh, Determining this one. We go to the locker room where Heath is getting ready for a match with Chris Sabin, which is coming up next. But before the match, Rhino, his tag team partner, goes up to Heath, and Rhino's like, "I don't know what's been getting into you, but whatever you've been doing with this, or wherever you've been trying to go after the guns about, you don't have to do that. You're my friend. I trust you. We're tag team partners. It's been us the whole time. We're here to, win tag team gold, all that stuff." And he's like, "No, I do have to do this. I know, I know you're my friend. I know you're Big Terry. You got my back, but there's something you don't quite understand. You, Rhino, you've been here at TNA before. And the Guns, they've been here a long time. Rhino, you've been here a long time. And when you got let go from your dream job and had to come back here, they welcomed you in with open arms. But me, I've never been here before. I found my own way. So when I came back, even though you vouch for me, even though I love this place and I've been here like a year or so, and I love this place, I look at all the originals around and they still don't respect me." And Rhino's just kind of like, "No, they do respect you. I respect you." And he's like, "That may be the case, but I gotta earn the respect. I know people are looking at me differently just because I got here a different way. You guys have been here 20 years and I've only been here for one of them. You know, People have been here for much longer than me. People have started their careers here. People have ended their careers here. People have made their careers here. I want to be one of those people. I came to Impact and I love Impact. And I want the Impact, I want the people here to accept me as one of their own. So you already have that respect. You don't understand what it takes to earn that respect. So you already earned it. I gotta earn that respect, and I gotta earn that respect from the Guns. I got to earn that respect from you. I know I have it from you, but I got to earn it from the guns. Got to earn it from everyone else. So just back me up on this, all right, man? And Rhino's just like, okay, I get it. You said your piece. I understand. I'm behind you 100%. So segment rating of 38. Um, I wasn't sure if I wanted to make this a full blown storyline, but it is now. um, I've been toying with the idea of turning the guns heel. I may still do that with this storyline, maybe not. Who knows? We will see. Uh, but yeah, Heath on a quest to earn the respect of the guns and therefore Impact at large, segment rating of 38, and then we get the match. And Chris Sabin beats Heath after 11 minutes 43 with the cradle shock. Um, Chris Sabin having accompanied by Alex Shelley, Heath accompanied by Rhino. No shenanigans from the outside. It's one on one. Heath wants to make sure he earns that respect, but tonight he comes up short. Sabin wins. Segment rating of 39. Sabin with a performance of 32. Heath with a 36, but gaining heat for the storyline. So hopefully this will turn out to be a good storyline for us, despite, you know, both teams being faces. Like I said, I've been teasing. The guns have been leaning heel, but I don't know if I want to fully turn them heel yet. But we'll see how this shakes out. Um, After the match, we go backstage, and Jake Something is cutting a promo and basically talking about, like, you know, guns. I know you have your issue with, uh, you have your issues with Heath and Rhino, and they're my friends and all. But I know you guys, once I decided to put my nose in your business to back up my friends, I know you went out and got Brody King to attack me a couple weeks ago, or yeah, a couple weeks ago. I know you guys did that. I see behind, this facade, this fan favorite, this Impact Legend stuff. I know behind the scenes, you guys are willing to screw people, and you guys got Brody King to come after me. And while he's cutting this promo, Brody King and Father Bateman attack him. Mostly Brody King attacking him. Father Bateman uh, just kind of presiding over the uh, beatdown. But eventually, once Brody fully has Jake beaten down, Brody's like, "Nope, you guys is completely wrong. Guns didn't guns didn't need to call me to beat you. I did that on my own free will. I did that because the gospel of violence spoke to me. And it told me, like, Impact sees you as the next big thing. The next, the person at the edge of that next level to greatness. I can't let you do that because that's going to be me. I'm the monster. I'm the monster of Impact. I buried PCO in a monster after a Monsters Ball match. I'm the monster of Impact. I should be the one ascending to that next level, not you. So you're completely wrong. It wasn't the guns that did it. That was all me. It's all me, free will, all that stuff. So Jake having the idea that the guns put Brody King up to it, but Brody attacking Jake and confirming, at least to him, that this is Brody's plan all along. Father Bateman's plan, the gospel's plan, if you will. So, uh, a matter of whether or not Jake chooses to believe that, we'll see. But segment rating of 35 for that beatdown. And then we go elsewhere where we basically backstage, Danhausen and Mance Warner are running around and they're looking around for Chris Bay and Will Hobbs for a few moments. They eventually find them. They're just kind of chilling out backstage, and Danhausen just gets in their faces like, "I know you have it. Give it back to me. Give me back my briefcase." And they're just looking at each other like, what are you guys talking about? Like, you have the briefcase. Chucky T says you told Chucky told me you have the briefcase, so give me back the briefcase. And they're like, "No, we don't have the briefcase. What are you guys talking about?" And Mance is like, I know. Danhausen's got this weird idea that you guys stole his briefcase a couple weeks ago for the X Division title shot, and uh, they're just kind of like, Mance is kind of trying to talk Danhausen down, but like the second he does that, Will Hobbs gets in front of Chris Bay and gets in Mance, steps up to Manser, gets in his face, and at first Mance Warner's trying to defuse it, but you know, situation isn't really getting diffused at all. And they're just kind of like, "Oh, I see how it is. Whether or not you guys have the briefcase, personally, I don't think you do, but I know you two and us two, we've had our fights. I'm willing to throw down again if you are. And it looks like you are, because Will Hobbs, you're stepping up into my face." And uh, basically, this kind of resolves itself with a challenge for next week. Uh, they don't come to blows tonight, but there will be a match next week. Danhausen and Mance Warner versus Power and Finesse. As the two teams separate, we see Chucky T in the background, kind of snickering to himself, just kind of like seeing that he's his meddling has worked. He has gotten a wild hair up Danhausen's ass and just kind of sent the nerds on their way, gotten them out of his hair, but he's pleasantly surprised at what's been happening with them. So if we'll get a fight next week, a tag team match, segment rating of 37 for that, and then we go to our main event: Josh Alexander and Eddie Edwards going to a draw. uh, uh, I know I'm I know there have been a lot of draws with interferences in them lately. There's been reasons, but basically for this match goes almost 15 minutes. Um, the two kind of show respect for each other, but that eventually goes out the window, and they kind of go full bore against each other. I don't think I did this as like a wild brawl. No, it's just regular. But had them call it in the ring. Basically, had them show what they got, and for an Impact main event, probably did fairly well. Well, segment rating of 45, but Alexander's a performance of 53, Edwards with a 55, so that should be better, but I'm sure it was due to the ending that it's gotten worse, because while the match kind of seems to wind down and both men are trying to get the final pinfall, it just gets thrown out the window when Ace Austin and Lance Archer interfere, attacking both men. Ref throws the match out. So, while that is happening, while Lance Archer and Ace Austin are beating down Alexander and Edwards, out comes the world champion Christian Cage with a microphone, with his belt. And while like Ace and Lance are just kind of like trading blows with Art, well, Josh and Eddie have put in a hell of a match, so they're tired. They are just getting beaten down, and Austin and Archer are just kind of like playing with them at this point while Christian's cutting a promo, and he talks about last week these two fine young men came to me for help. They pled their case, and I believe them. I believe that the likes of you two have been monopolizing the world title shots around here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to borrow a page from my good friend Gail Kim and fellow Canadian Gail Kim, what I'm going to do next week, Josh and Eddie, you guys team up against Ace Austin and Lance Archer. If you two win, Josh and Eddie, if you win, you can have a number one contenders match at Turning Point, and it can just be you two, and you guys can fight over it. And I don't really care which one of you wins. You guys can fight over it. But next week in the tag match, if Ace and Lance win their match, that number one contenders match turns into a four-way. So basically doing the exact same thing almost that Gail did earlier. Um, for some context, the plan for Jordan Grace, the plan for the Knockouts title situation for the pay per view had to change because Jordan Grace got injured. But honestly, it the original plan wasn't that much different. So I know we have like a lot of non-finishes right now, resulting in like multi-person title matches or uh title shots. And I guess that kind of extends also to the Knockouts tag title division. Um, yeah, I don't want to blame myself on having a lack of ideas, but it kind of seems like it right now that I'm just kind of doing the same thing for like three different programs. But this is I am blaming it on it being like the rebuilding, because like after the big year end, whatever, the season finale, quote unquote, of Slammiversary, well, not Slammiversary, Bound for Glory, you just kind of have to start over for new things. And I see this as the start, but we have to start somewhere. And I guess that kind of results in basically three different programs having the same type of matches, determining them. So, uh, call me a hack if you must. I might tend to agree with you for now. Overall rating of 43 for this show, so pretty average. Show increased our popularity in 41 regions, didn't drop it, so I guess that's good. Um, is it the main event and the post match being the top segments? So yeah, we are slowly getting to turning point. We have Christian Cage versus Mike Bailey determined, but whoever gets the next title shot after that, we'll see. Whoever we have Rosemary defending against at least Bianca Blair, possibly Tasha Steeles. We'll see next week after that tag match. Um, we have Jake Something and Brody King having issues. Heath wanting respect from the guns. So there are other things happening, but slowly but surely we have to build. We have the World X Cup. We have to build toward these things. They're not going to be home runs right off the bat. So with that said, thanks for watching this show this week. I will see you on the next episode of TEW Impact. Thanks.